You may have heard the term deload get passed around while you're talking to other people at the gym. And this term is most often used from powerlifters. And you may be curious as to what a deload is and how it could be beneficial for you in making progress in the gym, either as a bodybuilder or a powerlifter. A deload is classified as when somebody takes the time to reduce the amount of intensity and effort they're putting into the gym for most likely a week. It can range from 1 to 4 weeks even. And this is a way to lower the fatigue that has been built up over progressively overloading and building muscle over hopefully months at a time. This would be different compared to an unload, which is basically not going to the gym entirely. Now, there's two main things that we do to our body when we are trying to build muscle in the gym. The first is we stimulate the muscle to grow by breaking down the muscle fibers, getting them to repair and grow stronger over time through protein synthesis. And this is mainly achieved through progressive overload, increasing the amount of load that you use in a given workout, in a given week, in a given exercise. And since we are not invincible, the second thing that happens to our body is it starts to accumulate fatigue. There's two types of fatigue, mainly. There's peripheral fatigue and central fatigue. Peripheral fatigue happens in our skeletal muscle. It happens when our muscles get sore, when they're no longer able to accumulate ATP into the dedicated muscle to lift a certain amount of resistance. That's when the muscle is taken to failure. And when we repeatedly take our muscle to failure, it starts to negatively affect our central fatigue. And that central fatigue comes from our brains, the nervous system. The nervous system is what initiates the ability for us to lift heavy weight, because the gym is basically one big bundle of stress. But it's the stress that we want, obviously, because we want to discipline ourselves, we want to grow, improve ourselves, improve our bodies, improve our health, and that's great. But there's a way to overdo it. And when you go too hard and too long without thinking about the consequences, sometimes it can crash and it can all come burning down on you, and you'll feel the effects and you won't be able to make progress. Now, we have come to when you should be able to take a deload. Deloads are good for bodybuilders and powerlifters because although the powerlifters would be lifting more load and the fatigue will get to them sooner, bodybuilders still have that fatigue from metabolite accumulation and other ways that they grow muscle. It eventually catches around to them and they have to deload. So there's a few markers for when you should be able to take a deload. It shouldn't be when you are smoothly progressing on exercises. Exercises haven't gotten stale. You've been able to increase a rep or two, or increase the load a little bit every 1 to 2 weeks. So if progressive overload is great, then keep on going, that's great. Also, if you are a beginner, you should not need to worry about deloading at all. Beginners still work on their neural efficiency. They still work on lifting the weight with proper form. They still work on building their initial newbie gains. So for the first 1 to 2 years, you shouldn't need to deload whatsoever. If you do, that is a big problem. It means you're doing something wrong with training. Might mean you're training every day and not knowing what you're doing, ego lifting to prove a point to yourself, something like that. But for those new to deloading, it is best to take a deload during the time where you are physically sick for multiple days, and it basically gets in the way of you performing well at the gym. You cannot improve your reps or your weight for consecutive weeks, mainly 1 or 2 weeks. Don't let it go further than that. Pump will be lackluster, it won't be as good as it used to be, because the fatigue is higher than the stimulation of the muscle. And you'll feel lethargic, you'll feel tired, you'll feel like pre-workout isn't enough to get you focused and in the mode to train. You'll feel like you just want to stare at a blank wall. I actually had this recent issue with not knowing when to deload properly, very, very recently. And it was after 2 weeks of really not making much progress on weights and progressive overload. and I just didn't see too much past it. I said, hey, maybe I'll save the deload for a week or two from now. And then Monday came, tanked. I was just completely zoned out. On my way home from the gym, my immune system got weaker. I could feel it. I could start feeling like I was getting sick. I didn't want to eat my post-workout meal. I didn't want to watch anything on social media. I didn't want to go on my phone. I literally just wanted to stare at a blank wall and do nothing. And it continued to affect me for the next few days, where I had no choice but to not go to the gym because I could not physically function optimally. I felt I was in slow motion. I felt like doing 5 push-ups was difficult. That's how hard chronic fatigue can hit. Deload is there to ensure that you never hit chronic fatigue. It's to reinvigorate your mind, get you focused again, get your immune system back on track, get your baseline stress levels down so that you can focus your stress on what matters, gym, and nothing else. A little side rant aside, what's the protocol that you should use to deload? There's 2 ways you can deload. You can deload for half a week, which is called a recovery half week, or you can deload for a full week. Some people may choose to extend it. I just stick to 1 week max, unless of course you are badly injured. Now in this week, you can basically do the same workouts, but cut the load, the weight that you use, in half. If you've been working on building up the amount of sets that you've taken a 2-set exercise to start with up to 3-4 sets, just use the deload week to work that exercise for 2 sets for 5 to 10 reps. That's it. What you'll notice is that this doesn't achieve a pump, doesn't last long enough, so you won't really do a workout for each body part. You could pretty much fit multiple workouts into one workout. You could do a full body workout that you don't normally do. You can do now because it's piss easy. Let's say if you normally work out 4 times a week, you can just work out twice a week, 2 full body workouts. And those aren't really workouts. They're just, let's say, practice. They're to stimulate you to want to push heavy loads again, because you're not doing that during the deload week. So if you're really fatigued, cut the workouts down to 1 or 2, hit all the exercises that you need in half the sets, half the load, in the 5 to 10 rep range, nothing intense whatsoever. When you leave the gym, you should be itching to do more. That was just technique practice. Now, when you go out of the deload week and you're back into your proper training again, don't go straight to what you were doing just before the deload week. Train your brain back into it, because your body will not be ready for the instant switch from really doing light training to heavy training that you're used to. So when you're back into your proper training, let's say you do 4 sets of chest supported rows, hard, heavy sets, start that off with 2. Cut your maximum volume that you did prior to the deload by 1/3. I wouldn't recommend using a deload for the first 2 years of your lifting journey. For intermediates, a deload week after 8 to 12 weeks of training. For advanced lifters, they may need a deload from after 4 to 6 weeks. Please don't be reckless. Use these deloads wisely. Don't ignore them and think that they're just for pussies that can't train hard and can't take no rest days, be like Goggins, lifting the boats and all that stuff. Look, you don't gotta flaunt your ego. We're here to make progress. We're here to build our physiques, to get stronger, build muscle. Best way to do that is by making progress. And making progress, sometimes you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. I'm Nick Steep. I hope this video was helpful. Leave no more lost potential, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.